Welcome, everybody, to the Cast from the Coast. My name is Adam Miles, and I'm joined, as always, by Josh Lambert and Tim Johnson. Brendan, hopefully, will be joining us probably at midsection of the episode tonight, and unfortunately, Aaron cannot join us. So, let's just move on with the episode today. Tim, what are we talking about?
We are continuing A Nightmare on Elm Street with A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Stay tuned. All right, Tim, please regale us with the synopsis.
Prepared to be regaled.
Preparing.
A psychiatrist familiar with a knife-wielding dream demon, Freddy Krueger, helps teens at a mental hospital to battle the killer who's invading their dreams.
Excellent. So, as me and Tim have said before, this is where things get good, by the way. This is
my favorite.
This is my favorite in the series. I'm unabashedly going to say that because I'm going to give this a positive review. I've already said it many fucking times in the past. So here we go. So we have now the return of Nancy, by the way. We have a new group of kids living in and around Elm Street that are all being subjected to a very, very, very common theme in their nightmares. Freddy Krueger has appeared and is trying to kill them off, and some of them have been killed by this point. And they're all in an institute, basically, for mental health crisis. And they're being monitored. They're going through their regular stuff. And here comes Nancy, who has returned to the series. She is now she's gone through like university, college, whatever it might be. She's got her basically she's working on a doctorate of sleep and mental and psychiatry and all this kind of stuff. And she is coming in to help study this scenario where these kids are mass dreaming about something. And she comes to find out that it's Freddy Krueger. Freddy's back. He is invading the dreams of kids, trying to kill kids. And she does the most amazing thing in this movie. She teaches the kids to weaponize themselves in the dreams, which is fucking dope in my opinion. This is, like I said, this is where it becomes really fun, because in this part of the series, it's all about taking it back. It's no longer just about fighting Freddy on his own terms. This is about, really stepping up and becoming, the aggressive force against Freddy at this point. So,
Do you want to know what bugs me?
What's that?
Is that this actually feels like it should have been A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2.
Yeah. It's almost like Part 2 never happened.
Yeah.
But
I mean, even what we were saying, last time with, the fact that it was a major departure of, the story from the first one.
Yeah.
With characters and stuff, like Nancy's back, John Saxon's back, it just
the team's back together again.
They got the band back together, right? So I don't know. It feels to me like this really is Part 2.
Yeah.
In a lot of people's minds, this is Part 2 because, as we discussed, Part 2 has a universal hatred behind it for a lot of fans. They don't like the fact that Part 2 exists for many different reasons. This really does feel like more of a natural sequel. It really does, and I'll agree to that, because what I love is the major differences. Like in the first one, the Elm Street house was Nancy's house. That's where the shit happened. It was Nancy's house. But in this one, they refer to it as his house. And it's all abandoned, and every time you see it, it's like run down, and I love it. And this is where it becomes even creepier because you have the kids now, and they're singing the jingles, and you get, basically the house itself turns into an extension of the boiler room.
Right.
You know, and it becomes the creepy friggin' place from people's dreams where they meet with Freddy. And Nancy's introduced to her own house, reintroduced to her own house again, but you know, now that it's Freddy's house. And I love that. Like, she kind of sees that happen, and you know, it kind of drags her into the scenario closer. So
what a comeback story for Nancy, though. She did good for herself. Good for Nancy.
Absolutely.
Didn't let that nonsense, you know, make her crazy and a homeless person. Her parents are dead. She pulled herself up by the bootstraps, went to university, got herself an education. Good for Nancy.
I love it. I love it. And you know, to go into it further too, just a little bit here. I love some of the throwbacks that will occur in later in the series, because this is the first one where we're introduced to Hypnocil.
Yeah.
Which is the drug of choice going further into the series. It's always referred to later on in the series, though the drug that kids are taking to not sleep. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's or to battle the sleep problems that they have, stuff like that. So yeah. This movie has a lot in it, and this movie really does ring, in my opinion, true 80s slasher. The vibe. I watched a Blu-ray copy of this when I watched it again this week, and I gotta tell you, this movie is fucking well filmed.
Yeah.
Almost entirely compared to any of the other ones in the series, this one is crisp looking. Like, it's got great visuals, great camera angles, good, you know, amazing direction. The color palettes are amazing. They burst on screen when you're watching it. I love this movie. Like, this is, in my opinion, this is peak Freddy.
Yeah, this is kind of the Freddy we all know and love at this point. Like, it's almost like the Evil Dead 2 Ash scenario, where now he's kind of developed into his character. He's at this point, pretty much for the rest of the series, this is the Freddy we see.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So with that, Josh, I want to hear your notes on this movie.
Yeah. So I got to say, I haven't seen Nightmare 3 since I was probably like 12 or 13.
Nice.
And I always remembered it as being like my least favorite. I just, for whatever reason, I remember the kid from Dungeons and Dragons and it being so fucking weenie. Like the dude's like pretending to be a wizard and he's fighting Freddy with wizard powers. And I remember him beating Freddy with the wizard powers, which it obviously isn't what happened. Nope. So my 12-year-old memory served me incorrectly. But that was what I always remembered from this movie, and not like the awesome puppet Freddy. When that showed on, I completely had forgotten about that. And obviously the primetime bitch. I mean, that's classic Freddy. Everyone knows that scene. But okay. Is the little girl in yellow at the start one of Freddy's victims?
Yes.
So she's like running through the halls. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why she says this is where he brings us. And then you see the skeletons in there, and then she turns into a skeleton and shit. It's supposed to be kind of like the soul of one of his victims.
Like before he died, I guess.
Could be. Yeah. I would assume, because he was after he was after like the young kids before he died.
Right.
And then he was after basically anybody who was underage when he did die, and he could enter their dreams. So, yeah.
They're running through the hallways, and Aaron would have spotted this out. It's obviously a doll that she's carrying. Like, it's really obvious.
It's like,
and that was on like a shitty VHS copy. I couldn't imagine on a Blu-ray.
Someone's truck is going
by. So the razor reveal is exactly what we wanted from part 2. Freddy gets in your head and makes you do stuff. Like, that's the reveal we wished was in part 2.
Yeah.
Christine is doing an absolute horrible job of convincing anyone that she's not crazy. You're acting like a lunatic. You're going to get locked up. Heather's all grown up. And then, surprise, surprise, I didn't expect to see Cowboy Curtis in this film. He's there, just working as an orderly.
I love Cowboy Curtis. And he goes by Larry Fishburne.
Larry Fishburne.
The teardrop tattoo. Is this guy like straight up a murderer?
It's not even a tattoo. It's like gone later.
Yeah, it's weird. Nancy has the power to jump into their dreams. Never mind, Christine can pull people into her dreams. Completely forgot about that. The old stand guard tactic, the tried and true, I'm going to sleep, you wake me up if I start having a nightmare. It never works.
So it's not tried and true. It's tried and failed.
Yeah, tried and failed. What is so hard about just staying awake for these poor people? Springwood is a pretty small town. I reckon everyone would know Nancy as the crazy police chief's daughter at this point. Like, it's a pretty small town, America. I mean, news travels pretty quick. Her mom committed suicide. She got locked up with bars on her window because she's a crazy lady. She's a police chief's daughter. All these things kind of line in. As soon as they saw Nancy, like, aren't you that crazy lady?
That crazy lady.
We get Puppet Freddy, which is quite possibly one of the best Freddy variations.
Mm-hmm.
The tendons as puppet strings is extremely gross and gory.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. This place's security is pretty trash, to be honest. This is like a mental institution. These people are at risk of hurting themselves or others. Security is pretty lacking. We get our classic primetime bitch, Tim's favorite. How can you possibly explain that? She put her head through a TV 6 feet up off the ground, and no one's even questioning it. New rules establishment. Freddy's souls need to be laid to rest. Freddy's remains, rather, needs to be laid to rest in order for him to stop. You are the last of the Elm Street children. This is Freddy's true revenge. So what do they mean by that? The last of the Elm Street children. Like they're the descendants of the last people that burned Freddy up?
I think that's what it's referring to. That's the theory that I've always fallen under and that I've heard other people say. These are the last people that are directly related in some fashion to the ones in that town that burned him up.
So in their wildest dreams, like straight up, you can be anything. And the one girl's like, I can do somersaults. The other guy's a wizard. And in your wildest dream, your greatest superpower is doing somersaults. The gratuitous 80s nudity scene with the nurse, a staple requirement in any 80s horror film.
Yep.
What's Freddy's deal with his tongue? He's always licking people and getting people to lick him, and it's weird.
Yeah, totally is. I mean, in the first one, the phone is infamous.
Yeah. And you get the classic goes to their car with a box of junk because they just got fired scene. That's in like every film ever.
That's how you know it's real.
Yeah, that's how you know you got fired. When you got your little box with your little trophies and your paperwork in it. Amanda Krueger, mother of the son of 1,000 maniacs. So we get that origin. Who steals a cross from a church? That's like a mega sin. Like, you can't just go into a church and steal a cross. Let's go kick this motherfucker's ass all over Dreamland. If that's not the tagline of the film, I don't know what should be. We get the all was a dream fake out. Your favorite, one of my favorite non-Freddy Freddys is Suit Freddy. Whenever I get to see Suit Freddy, that tickles me pink. The winking belly button on the arm was kind of weird. So the Wizard Mastered scene is silly. It's one of the main reasons I didn't like it as a kid. I thought it was stupid. For some reason, I remember him like beating him with like a fireball or something. I think I just got it crossed over with some shitty D&D movie I saw probably the same time.
I cast magic missile.
Yo, Freddy, where you hiding at, you burnt-faced pussy? Quote. She's just doing Power Ranger flips. Like, that's her special power. She just does Power Ranger flips. And she does a ton of them. The souls of children give him strength. So, new canon established. When they get to the spot where Freddy's skeleton is ridiculously dancing around, that car lot always reminds me of 13 Ghosts.
The opening scene. Yeah.
Yeah, I think car lots are forever ruined for me from that film.
Good film.
Yeah, and the skeleton dancing around is like super Jason the Argonauts. That same kind of style.
Total Harryhausen.
Yeah. Stabbed with his own claw. Is that really hallowed ground if you just splash water on it and say a little prayer? I always thought hallowed ground had to be like a church ground or a graveyard. And again, you just splash some holy water on it. Wouldn't priests just go out in the rain and just start praying and then like the whole world's holy around?
Yeah, but that's logic, Josh. We're not bringing logic into this shit. Come on.
Krueger's mother's existence means ghosts exist in this Elm Street canon in addition to Freddy. So completely unrelated to Freddy, there's also ghosts. And the lights at the end of the dollhouse means there's no happy ending, which is one of my prerequisites. And those are my notes.
Those are your notes.
Notes by Josh.
Notes by Josh. All right, everybody, we're going to take just a 5 second, 10 second, 30 second. I don't know. I can't keep a track of it anymore. Break. Just want to let you hear from a friend of ours. We'll be right back.
Robert Englund here, a.k.a. Freddy Krueger. I'm watching and listening. They cast from the coast. You better or else.
Hey guys, I'm Felissa Rose, Angela from Sleepaway Camp, and you're listening to They Cast from the Coast. Yeah!
Hey there, it's Deborah Voorhees from Friday the 13th, Part 5, and you are listening to They Cast from the Coast.
Hello everybody, I am Fabio Frizzi and you are listening to They Cast from the Coast.
Hi everybody, this is Vincent DeSanti, the writer and director of Friday the 13th fan film Never Hike Alone, and you are listening to the great commentary of They Cast from the Coast. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to check out Never Hike Alone, which is streaming for free on YouTube right now.
All right, everybody, welcome back, Brendan. Yay! You joined us just in time, Brendan, because we just finished with Josh's notes, and he explained to us why he thought the movie was shitty when he was a kid, but he's looking back on it better now. So I want to hear what Brendan, a horror noob, has to say about this movie.
Brendan.
Horror noob. So, as you guys know, we were watching A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. A great year I was born. Directed by Chuck Russell, starring Freddy Krueger. First off, it looked like a pretty sweet retro video game, like the actual cover. Or not the cover, but the poster. It looked like a really sweet retro video game.
Love that.
And everyone tells me that it's the last Jedi of the series, so I'm excited right away. Before I carry on, though, this podcast is sponsored by Moosehead Rattler. Takes the summer in a can.
No, it's not sponsored by them unless they're paying us something or giving us extra Moosehead Rattlers. Come on, Moosehead.
It tastes like lawsuit.
It tastes like lawsuit.
Okay, So it opens up, ominous quote, Sir Edward Allan Poe. Is that right?
Edward.
Sure
Edgar
is.
Allan
Mr. Poe. Anyways, so, and then it spun right into the ominous 80s keyboarding, which is super cool. Very interesting that Lawrence Fishburne was referred to as Larry Fishburne in those days, so it makes him sound like a cartoon character. Okay, I'll just say right off the bat, I enjoyed the movie. It was a lot of fun. It was funny. The violence was awesome. The special effects were awesome. Except for the fake little girl that the girl was carrying around. It was very clearly a fake little girl.
You didn't like that?
Don't know what you're talking
Oh my
about.
god. Yeah, but then they redeemed themselves with the sink faucet scene.
That was awesome.
And I was like, whoa, okay, we're going right into this.
That always reminds me of It.
Yeah, for sure. So I thought that scene was really cool. Everyone clearly forgot about a couple years ago when Freddy Krueger terrorized 20 people at a pool. So the kids are crazy. Okay, it's just parents just don't understand. You know what I mean?
All right, Fresh Prince.
Yeah. And then they brought Nancy back, which you guys alluded to the fact that this was going to happen, and I thought it was it was awesome. So, like I said, it was a classic case of parents not believing their kids, and let's just put them right in the hospital. So, classic horror trope. Cried wolf. The dream sequences were fantastic at only like 20 minutes in. I forget what it was at about 20 minutes in, but I remember writing down. I wrote it down.
Awesome.
I wrote it down for a reason. That no, it was super cool. Oh, that's what it was. I just had to read the line below it. She was in the house, and then Nancy went all faded into the chair and went into her dream, entered the dream state.
Yeah.
But the tearing up of the room effect, like it looked like there was actually something, and then the way it went up the wall, it was just like.
It was really cool.
I liked it. It was really cool. The puppet marionette version of Freddy, it's pretty cool.
Dope.
Although I will say my thing
Josh was ready.
I was ready. I was like, don't you dare talk shit about Puppet Freddy.
It was pretty cool, but I will say puppets and dolls in general, I don't like them. They EB my GBs. I don't like it. But then the vein pulling scene.
It's one of my favorite deaths in the
sure
entire series.
About this stuff. Yeah, it was gruesome, and it was cool as hell. Here we go. The special effects and humor on point, especially for the TV scene. I think Tim alluded to this one here in prime time, bitch.
Fucking love it.
Classic.
But, and I must not have paid attention. Did they still try to play that off as a suicide?
So yeah.
That she somehow jumped.
Like, how the hell did you get up 6 feet? Thank you.
Any forensic analysis or scientist or investigator worth anything would know this ain't right.
Well, that's peculiar.
Like a lot of, I think the orderlies, if that's what they're called in an asylum, would be under investigation for murder at the very least.
I think the problem is the Elm Street Police Department knows about Freddy.
Just covering that shit up.
So they just cover it up every time it happens.
Unbelievable. Mysterious ghost lady. I wasn't aware if I was supposed to know of her or not, like if she was talked about, because it kind of seemed like it was like a familiar character, but I was like, did I miss something? But no, we're good. I found out later as I continued to watch the movie that not an issue. It's okay. The last of the Elm Street children. I wrote that down because I thought that just had a cool ring to it, like a band or like a posse. We're the last children of Elm Street, bitch. You know. Dream Warriors. They're like the first Avengers of the Freddy series, so it's like Freddy versus like the superhero kids, but they just don't know what their powers are yet, and they don't know what they're doing. They kind of sucked. Although the one chick knew how to backflip, no problem. And front flip.
Yeah.
Somersault. And again with the fake tongue gags. They like the tongue action.
Man, Brandon, you have no idea how in sync we are.
The tongues, but like multiple tongues.
Yep.
It's like when a creature shoots like spines out of its back or something.
Yeah.
The chest carving, I read it in Scary Terry's voice, and it just made it so sweet for me.
Bitch.
More familiar faces. Papa Cop was there.
Yay.
Made it feel more connected to the overall theme of everything else. It was very cohesive after that. The sneaky dreams that make Blondie think that she was in a mental hospital, that it was all a dream she was there, was kind of cool. Just sort of played it the same way again, and that could fool most people, I think, especially if they're so sleep deprived from being hunted by a supernatural monster. That, you know, those vivid dreams could totally make them think that way. I said, "Where's the fucking bourbon?" It was a fantastic line. Freddy.
That could be a T-shirt.
Yeah,
Freddy's
I said,
face.
"Where's the fucking bourbon?" Double Switchblade chick was the epitome of 80s badassery.
Yep.
She was like the Hela or the Loki of. Freddy's face makeup, I found, and his profile set seemed less pronounced, and for me it was kind of like less scary this time around. I don't know what it was. There was just certain scenes where I was like, well, it just looks like it wasn't done as creepy. Like it was creepy, but
as it progresses, it almost gets more cartoony.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Like this is maybe the start of that.
Yeah, you'll notice that because Kevin Yeager did the effects in this one too, so he used all the same molds for the same prosthetics. It's just in like number 2, we'll say, in number 1, he's very shadowed. He's darker. He's got a little bit more of like a sweaty look to him, or glistening look to him. In this one, it's just kind of like
sweaty,
dry burn victim.
Sweaty.
Yeah, sweaty.
Sweaty face. Needle Finger Freddy.
Dope.
Was cool, but I feel like, is it? And Tim, you might be able to think this as well. Do you think that was inspiration for the Batman Arkham Scarecrow? The
Maybe.
Needle fingers.
Maybe.
They both deal in fear and manipulating fear. I'm just like,
it's pretty badass.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I would see that and be like,
absolutely.
That's a cool idea.
And you want to know what's funny? I didn't even notice that until right now when you said that.
Yeah. Well, it's one.
Was that character in like any of the older comics before Freddy?
I don't know if he had the needle, like a needle.
No,
glove.
that was a look just for
like
Arkham. Yeah.
Yeah, they made him very horror-esque. Yeah, so that stood out for me. The Dream Warriors, they needed more training with their powers for taking on the big bad evil.
And to do less backflips.
Yeah, less backflips. That poor chair got twisted to pieces.
Nice.
I wasn't a fan of Freddy's voice as much in this one. There were some scenes where it was very modulated, like he's like witness protection, almost.
Nice. All right, Brendan, I'm going to get you to finish up your notes when we actually come around to giving our final thoughts. Tim, do you have any quick trivia that you want to throw at the crowds first?
Oh, you're just gonna.
I'm asking if you do, because if you do, that means it's trivia time for Tim.
There's always trivia.
Excellent. We'll take a couple minutes. We'll do some trivia, and then we're going to give our final thoughts on this movie. And Brendan, you can finish a couple of those thoughts. And
I got like 4 bullets left.
Excellent. You can use those in your final thoughts for sure.
I'm gonna.
Is there any BS in this, Tim? No? Just go.
No BS. As you can see, I moved, so I had no time to think of fake ones. Yeah. Bologna. So it's all the real deal.
Okay. Here we go.
All right. Okay, so this one
for the greatest fake out of our age.
I know. All of them are fake.
All bullshit.
I believe him.
Okay, so Josh might find this one interesting, and he probably already knows it. But the Freddy glove that was stolen from the set was found in another movie, hanging on the wall of the work shed in Evil Dead 2, released that same year. It's part of a continued banter between directors Wes Craven and Sam Raimi, See the Hills Have Eyes, The Evil Dead, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Evil Dead 2 for more.
There's a couple like that. There's a girl watching Critters in this one too. Who made that? Because that's like another little dig.
I'm not sure.
I know
I'm not sure.
McGarris did the second one, but go ahead.
Jennifer Rubin was told by some of her fans that her character of Taryn had caused them to quit drugs, and the actress is very proud of that.
Cool.
Once, after a very long day on set, Mr. Robert Englund fell asleep in his dressing room, still in full Freddy makeup. When he awoke and looked in the mirror, he got a terrible fright.
Imagine.
Freddy Krueger fucking scared himself.
That's the false one.
That's so funny. It's so funny. For 1 week during filming, Robert Englund was working 24 hours every day. By day, he was wrapping up filming on his television series, Downtown, and then he would report for A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 Dream Warriors set at night.
Wow.
That sucks.
I wonder why he doesn't want to do more Freddys.
Yeah, I wonder. Wes Craven had nothing to do with this first sequel, A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, as he didn't believe the Elm Street series was capable of spawning a franchise. The success of the second film, outgrossing the original, convinced him otherwise. According to Wes Craven, the idea for the mental hospital was not just some riff on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I can't speak tonight. I haven't had enough coffee today. I'm right tired. Anyways, but instead inspired by real-life establishments. At that time, there was some kind of movement of such places that even advertised on television. Send your problem child to us, and we'll make them okay. And essentially, they were like prisons or insane asylums. It's funny, I watched a documentary on that last night. This is the first writing credit for Oscar-nominated writer and director Frank Darabont.
Oh, there you go.
This is the film debut of Patricia Arquette.
Who is she again?
She was the little blonde one.
The main character.
Yeah. Oh. I forget her name.
Stuff? Notable things?
Yeah, she's in all kinds of stuff. But that's not part of Trivia Time with Tim. So
next time, when we get to those movies.
Settle down. The only film out of the first 6 movies not to begin with a nightmare scene.
Sort of did.
Didn't it?
It kind of did.
Yeah.
It turned into a nightmare scene.
Yeah. More specifically.
Yeah.
Originally, Taryn's character's head was to explode after being injected with Freddy's syringes, but unfortunately, it looked too fake. I had another one, and I don't know. This film takes place in 1990. I don't know if you guys knew that. I don't know. Where'd it go? It's gone. It's gone. This is the third highest grossing of the original Nightmare movies after Freddy vs. Jason and A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4.
I can see that.
Sweet.
All right, last one. Robert Englund wrote a treatment for this movie. Unfortunately, it was not used. And that is Trivia Time with Tim.
Trivia Time with Tim! Only rushed because tonight's a different night, so. But Josh, why don't you give us your final thoughts on this movie and give it your rating, please?
So, as you guys mentioned earlier, I remember disliking this movie quite a bit. I've turned that around full fold. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. We get Freddy Snake, we get Puppet Freddy, we get Suit Freddy, we get some classic Freddys in this one. We get Primetime Bitch, we get lots of good gore. We get the origin for Amanda Krueger. There's not much I can really say that I dislike about this, other than the kind of silly cheesiness, but I like that anyways, really. So I can't really gripe about it. But sometimes it gets a little silly with the dream sequences, like the Power Ranger backflips. Overall, I'm going to rate this an R. I highly recommend. Still like the original more, but it's currently sitting at the best sequel for me. My favorite thing about Freddy is even when you beat him, you don't really beat him. He's always back by the end of the movie.
He's a motivational poster, if nothing else.
Nice.
He never stops.
Excellent. So we got an R. Excellent. I'll go next because Tim always complains that I always go last, so I'm going next. This is my favorite of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. This is pinnacle Freddy for me. It, like you said, Josh, it's got some of the best one-liners. It's got some great deaths. The actual puppeteering with the fucking arteries and shit. That's amazing. I love that. That's great stuff. And it segments into a better part of the series, in my opinion, where things kind of actually connect a little bit more. This connects to the first one. And then you'll see as we go along that there's more connections and callbacks to the series. They don't all seem kind of like, drop in lone movies anymore. This kind of really kind of brings a lot of those together. This to me, if I was to choose any Nightmare on Elm Street movie to watch on a rainy day, this is the one that I put on. It's just the way that it is. It's beautiful. I love it. I'm giving it an R. Period. Tim.
Well, because you're rushing everything, I give it an R.
Really? I thought this would get an X from you.
No,
isn't this your absolute Freddy?
It is my absolute Freddy. It's my favorite out of all of them. Yeah, I love everything about it. I share a lot of the same thoughts you and Adam do. Welcome to primetime, bitch. That's like pure fucking Freddy. And you're right. How you find out about Freddy's mom was really cool. And Wes Craven was back for this. So, this is my favorite one. I give it an R.
R rating from Tim. Brendan, finish your bullet points and give us your rating.
I'll just skim through them. Okay. I'll just throw it right into my rating. So I thought it was a great movie. The super cheesy skeleton battle scene aside, all the special effects were pretty top notch. It was funny. It was gory. You could tell it was kind of starting to build somewhere. Throwing in the origin of Freddy's mama Krueger, and I think I still do like the first one more. I believe I gave that one an X for excellent or extreme, whatever the X stands for. So I'm going to give it an R for Radler.
No, you're not giving it an R for Radler. Stop. It might be a lawsuit.
I recommend it. Absolutely. It was a fun time. It was fun. It was gory. Campy at times, but it pulled itself back to being more gory than it was cheese.
It's the Freddy we all love.
Yeah. He has knives on his fingers.
Yeah. Sometimes.
In the end, with the Ray Harryhausen type skeleton battle and everything else, the only thing that I'll really say, because we've already kind of said our parts about things, the only thing that ever really annoyed me about the effects in this movie, when I watched it on Blu-ray this time around, when the writing is on the chest, if you look very carefully at the bitch, if you look very carefully, you can see the outline of the prosthetics. Pretty bad edges on it. And the H itself is lifting. It's actually bubbling on the edges, and you can see like under the prosthetic.
That would not stand for Aaron.
Aaron would probably have a shit fit on this one. So I'm just going to bring it up that, I'm still giving it an R. I love this fucking movie. But I looked at that and I went, ooh, that's going to sit with me for the rest of my life now. Every time I watch this fucking movie and I love it, I'm going to see that.
Yeah, but you know what? That's your fault.
It is.
Because this movie was fucking made for VHS and shitty movie projectors.
Josh is like, you never see that in my brain.
Yeah, if you're watching that in Blu-ray in high resolution and you're seeing seams, that's on you. That's on you.
Honestly, the only time a horror movie made in the 80s should be released on Blu-ray is if it is touched up and it has a crew of people making sure that kind of stuff gets fixed in post.
Yeah.
They should not port VHS quality to a Blu-ray. That just seems dumb.
Well,
So I will change my rating. R for really bad prosthetics.
Okay, I'll accept that. Excellent. All right. Anything else that anybody wants to add to this conversation for the night? Because if not, we're going to wrap things up here in a minute. No. Brendan's happy. Josh is happy. Josh, you finally love this movie?
I thoroughly enjoy this movie. I no longer remember it for just that one scene with a kid shooting a fireball and killing Freddy, which doesn't even happen.
All right, Tim, you're happy with this movie?
The movie, yeah.
Okay, good. We're all good. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching this live episode of They Cast from the Coast. Check us out, as you probably have. We're available when we go live now on YouTube as well as Twitch, and we'll be sharing around links on Facebook. Check us out, Misunderstood Art Company, on all of those platforms, and They Cast from the Coast specifically is the channel title on Twitch. We are also on Patreon. Open up your hearts and your wallets. Tim requires more caffeine because he didn't have very much today. And don't forget to check out all of the audio capable versions of this podcast on all the major audio podcasting platforms, including but not limited to iTunes and Spotify and all that good stuff. You know where it is. Check it out, everybody.
The Googles and the YouTubes.
Googles and the
Facebooks.
YouTubes and everything else.
On the internet.
And until next time, Josh.
Let's go kick this motherfucker's ass all over Dreamland.
Brendan. Still don't know what to say, do you?
Taste it. Just taste the summer.
Just taste the summer. Shit, dude. And Tim.
Stay safe. Stay spooky. Stay classy.
Oh,
I love it.
wow.
They were just they were on my desk.
Never wear them again.
Keep it creepy, everybody. See you next time.
Good night.